In the next section, we'll be learning how to digitize open shapes. In that lesson, you will learn the difference between left clicks and right clicks in regards to your mouse. You will also learn different aspects of using the Digitize Open Shape. Let's go right into doing some digitizing. And as we get into digitizing, I will show you some key features that arise once we start digitizing. Now then, one thing to know is when it comes to selecting objects, up here in the upper left-hand corner, we have Select and Reshape. Our Select tool will be able to select any objects that we create. Our Reshape tool will allow us to manipulate any objects we create. For those of you who are shortcut savvy, you can use the letter O on your keyboard for the Selection tool, and you can use the letter H on your keyboard for the Reshape tool. First things first, let's make sure our Selection tool is selected, and let's come on down here to Digitize. In the drop-down menu of Digitize, we are going to be using our Digitize Open Shape and Digitize Close Shape. Let's go ahead and start off with Digitize Open Shape. Go ahead and select it. And now coming over here to our workspace area, we are pretty much just going to freehand draw some little scribbles so that way you can see how the Digitize Open Shape works. One important aspect of digitizing open shapes or closed shapes is using your left and right mouse clicks. When it comes to digitizing, your left clicks will create straight lines and your right clicks will create curved lines. Let's go ahead and start off on the upper right hand side of our hoop, and let's make the letter S using left clicks. So I'm going to left click here, I'm going to left click here, left click, left click, left click, left click. And now from here, now that we're done on our keyboard, let's hit enter. And as you can see, we made a letter S with straight lines. And now from here in a different color, so let's go ahead and choose a different color in our swatches. And let's make the letter S using the right click. So at the same point here, now going off of the same point right here, I'm going to go ahead and right click, right click, right click, right click, right click, and right click. Now, as you can see, it's not quite the letter S, but once we did our right clicks, notice how it made curves instead of straight lines. Over here on the right hand side, as you can see, once we made our first little objects, in our sequence tab, you will see we got our blue letter S and we have our red letter S. We can always change the orientation of these by dragging them into place, or you can come here and hit the up and down arrow keys. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and delete these. So in our sequence, I'm going to select this one. On my keyboard, I'm going to hit delete. Over here, I'm going to hit delete as well. And that's going to remove those two objects. And now with our Digitize Open Shape still selected, let's do a combination of right clicks and left clicks. So let's go ahead and left click here. We're going to right click here. We're going to left click here. We're going to right click here. Left click, right click, left click, right click, left click, and right click. And one last left click. Then I'm going to hit enter. Now, those of you following along, you do not have to do exactly what I did as far as this shape. And as you can see, we got some curves. We got some points from when we left click. We got a curve and we got another point here. Then we got another curve and a point. This is what happens when you do a combination of left clicks and right clicks. All right, let's go ahead and select that object and delete it. Now let's do that one more time. And let's try to do some straight lines with some curved lines. So I'm going to do a left click, then I'm going to do a right click, left click, right click, and let's hit enter. As you can see, we got some straights, we got a curve, we got a straight kind of right here, we got a point, and then we got another curve right here. Now you following along, I want you guys to play around with your left clicks and your right clicks. So now let's go ahead and do another one. But with this one, we are going to do left clicks only. But while we're doing left clicks, I want you guys on your keyboard to hold the control button. With holding the control, you will be able to make straight lines. As you can see, it also snaps it into place. So let's go ahead and keep holding our control. We're going to left click. We're going to left click again at a slightly down angle. Then we're going to left click again. Let's do a left click over here. Left click, left click, left click. As you can see, we made our straight lines, but not only did we make straight lines, they are perfectly straight because we held the control button on our keyboard. Let's go ahead and select this object and delete it. Now, for those of you who are shortcut savvy on your keyboard, you can always use the shortcut of Shift N, so that way you can select your Digitize Open Shape tool as opposed to having to come over here and click on it. So now we're going to do the same thing we did as with the straight lines, but we're going to do it with the curved lines. So we're going to make a curved line, but we're going to hold the control button on our keyboard. As you can see, it starts off as a straight line, but once you hit that right click, it will curve. And enter. As you can see, we made a quick little spiral. It isn't anything special, but we did this just so you guys can practice using your left and right clicks with the Digitize Open Shape. So now let's go ahead and delete that. So that was our Digitize Open Shape. And the reason you would do Digitize Open Shape is because in some of your designs, you might have to do some single run type of stitches. Another thing we're going to do with our Digitize Open Shape is we're going to mess around with the different outline effects that come with Wilcom Hatch Digitizer. So we can use all of these with our Digitize Open Shape tool. So let's go ahead and make a design real quick. It doesn't have to be anything special. Let's go ahead and just do some left clicks real quick. And now let's do some right clicks. And I'm gonna hit enter. As you can see, currently we are on the single run feature, as you can see right here. But let's go ahead and select our object and let's check out some of the different stitches. So we have a triple run. As you can see, it makes it thicker. We have a sculpture run. We have our motif, which gives it a wonky effect. And with the motif, you can come down here and play around with some of the different patterns. We have our back stitch. We have our seam stitch, zigzag stitch. We have our satin stitch, which we will use quite often. And we have our 3D satin stitch for those of you who are doing 3D puff effects. We even have our blanket stitch. So keep these stitch types in mind when you're digitizing open shapes. Let's go ahead and switch it back to a single run. And now from here, with our object selected, let's go ahead and either hit H on our keyboard or you can come up here and click on reshape. Once you click the reshape button, once we zoom in, you will see our different nodes. So the nodes are each point that we clicked. And as you can see in detail, whenever you make a left click, it will make a yellow square node. Whenever you do a right click, it will make a blue circle shaped node. From here, we can always come into a node, click it, and drag it wherever we would like. Go ahead and practice clicking and dragging your nodes around. Once you've dragged around the left click nodes, let's go ahead and drag around the right click nodes some so you can see the different effects that it will have when you drag these around. Now these come in handy for when you're doing little fine adjustments to your digitizing. So now after you got done moving around your nodes some, another thing we can do is we can add more nodes into our artwork. Starting here on the top, let's say if we wanted to add in an additional left click node, all we got to do is come in and just left click. And as you can see, it created another left click node. So now we can manipulate our design even further. Let's say we wanted to add in another left click node here. We can do so. Create different shapes. Not only does it work with the left click nodes, we can also even use the right click nodes, which will add in some circular points. So I'm going to add in 3 to 4 circular points right here. And now with each point, I'm going to come in and just slightly manipulate them. As you're following along, feel free to mess around with adding nodes and manipulating the nodes. Not only can you add nodes, you can also remove nodes as well. So if there is a node that you would like to remove, simply click on it and then hit the delete button and it will delete that node. Let's go ahead and practice adding and deleting nodes. And also be sure that you're using the scroll wheel on your mouse so that way you can zoom in and out quickly. When you zoom in and out, it zooms in and out on wherever your mouse is. So keep that in mind. So now take a moment to play around with some nodes. Take a moment to create some shapes. And also take a moment to play around with your stitch types. And once you've done all of that, and once you've played around with the Digitize Open Shape more, we will move on to the next section, which is Digitize Closed Shapes. All right, all you beginners, that is going to conclude this segment of Digitizing Open Shapes. In our next lesson, we will be learning how to digitize closed shapes, which have some similar features to the Digitize Open Shape.